Okay, let's try this again. Let's try this again. Okay, it looks like it's up and going now. Sorry, everybody. So we got 2 people here. Wow, this was such a crappy way to start this stream. This was such a crappy way to start. Let me go back here. I'm gonna delete this old one. Delete forever. I understand. Okay, who do we have here? Crochet Mama's here. I didn't miss it. Nope. You may have missed the first part. It didn't start out very well. Something weird was going on. But I think I have it fixed now. Who else do we got? Michael Richards is here. We're going to go over these the poll results. So far we have 417 responses, which is pretty good. I was hoping to get to like 1,000, but I think that was wishful thinking. Two broskies here from Bluffdale, Utah. Ray Morgan, Land Bountiful. Michael Richards, J == Kansas. Oh, okay. Did everybody participate in the poll? If not, the link should be in the description so you can go there. Michael Richards says Kansas City. All right. So you're nearby. I'm not going to say exactly where I'm from, but I'm from the kind of the Wichita area. About an hour from Wichita. Crochet Mama says, sorry, I'm from Southeast Missouri. Awesome. So we got a pretty good representation here in the Midwest. We got Kansas City, Southeast Missouri. Michael, are you on the Missouri side or the Kansas side? Because there is, if for those that don't know, there is a Kansas City, Kansas, but usually when you're referring to Kansas City, it's Kansas City, Missouri. That's the larger city. Aritz is here. He's also served in the Spain-Barcelona mission along with me. He had President Shane Bowen and President Watson. And for my mission, all I had was just President Watson the entire time. Stephen Cook, Virginia, originally England. Wow, okay. Welcome. You're a U.S. citizen now? You don't have to answer that if you don't want, but... Okay, Michael's on the Missouri side of Kansas City. Esther is here from Bountiful. So do we have 2 people from Bountiful? Ray Morgan, are you literally talking about Bountiful, Utah, or are you referring to something else? But looks like we have 2 people from Bountiful here. How many are in the stream? We got 22. Let's wait just a little bit longer. Stephen Cook says nope. Okay, so he's still British by citizenship. Kevin Whitcomb, Idaho. Ray Morgan, yes. Okay, so we have 2 people from Bountiful. That's where me and my wife were married and sealed, in the Bountiful Temple. Bob D, Bristol, England, Southwest Mission. Stephen Cook, England, Manchester Mission. Cool. Does anybody have any other ideas for any other polls like this that we could do, that you'd be just like some question you'd like to put out there? Find out, I don't know, something interesting. Ray Morgan, hello Esther. Alva Mon, I hope I pronounced that right. Alva Mon, Rexburg, Idaho. One of the very few cities in the world that will have 2 temples. At least, like, you know, in the near future. Who knows what things will be like during the millennium. Do you think that, like, during the millennium, there's virtually going to be maybe a temple in every city? Like, how do you view that going? I kind of do. I think that maybe there'll be like temples all over the place. But Keeley or Keel photography is from Payson, Utah. We have a niece named Keeley. That's how she spells it, so that's why I'm saying Keeley. The letter N says, I hope so. I hope so too. I kind of like have this like picture that like the town that I'm in right now will go through the millennium. You know, the wicked will go, but those that are terrestrial or celestial will remain. And that eventually this town will like maybe have its own little temple, just a little temple. I wonder if they would ever come out with like really little temples. N says it would be wonderful. Yeah, it sure would. Hey, is the quality okay? I put it on very low latency, which means that I'll see your responses in more real time. In the past, I've done low and also normal, and there's like more of a delay. But like, is the stream? Does it seem to be okay? Crochet Mama says it's fine. Ray Morgan has a suggestion for a poll question. Where do you think Kolob is actually located? Oh, are you referring to like, I know there's like that book that came out, the Kolob theorem. Is that what the basis of your question is? Because I think like the Kolob theorem says that, the guess is that Kolob is at the center of this galaxy, the Milky Way. Michael Richards, I've always thought that many of the stake centers that are being built recently could be very easily and quickly converted into temples. I actually heard, you know, I don't know when it was. Back when I was in Utah, I can't remember the circumstances. I don't know if it was like in institute that I heard this from like an institute teacher, or maybe it was seminary. But somebody was saying something to the effect that stake centers are now being built to where they could be converted into temples. I don't know if that's true. I just know that somebody said that, and I don't know on what authority they were saying that, but it could be. I think there's plenty of structures that could be remodeled and then turned into temples. So, I don't know. Susan Cooper's here. She's my friend from Texas. Good evening, bruises and blisters. Oh, dang, you must have been working or something. Hiking? And then smiley face, and then upside down smiley face, and then emojis. Lon Allen, Zion, Utah. Bob D, cannot read the chart. Zoom in possibly. Yeah, I will in just a second once we get going here. Ray Morgan says yes. Earth in the Beginning by Eric Skousen. Kevin Whitcomb, chapels could be made into temples. Yeah, I'll bet that they could. I'm pretty sure. Ray Morgan, I've been told the same thing about stake centers, something about the phases. Jeff is here from Santa Quinn, Utah. Crochet Mama, with millions and billions of people who will join the church in the millennium, we will most likely have a temple in each city. There was somebody that sent me an email, and they kind of did like calculations about, based on the estimated number of people that have lived on this earth, and that will live on this earth, and how with the number of temples that we have right now, it would be possible to get through all those ordinances within a relatively short amount of time. I'd have to like see the email again, but somebody did some kind of calculation like that. It was interesting. But I do tend to think that there'll be just many temples. Keeley Photography said, I heard the same thing from my father-in-law. That is in regular communication with general authorities about the stake centers being able to be converted. Yeah, so it's making me think that there's actually something behind that. Tyson Price, I just got home from work. I work at Deseret Book in Cottonwood Heights, Utah. I love Cottonwood Heights. That originally, when we were planning on staying in Utah, that was like one of the places that we would have wanted to live there, or like Holiday, or just that eastern part of the valley. Audrey says, hello from Austin, Texas. Ah, yes, we have another person from Texas. And I don't know if you know Audrey. I think you're relatively new to the channel. I was in Fort Hood when I was in the Army, so that's just like an hour north of Texas, of Austin. You know, it's the Killeen, Copperas Cove area, kind of by Temple. We lived in Pennsylvania. Our temple was Columbus Temple. It is pretty small. Don't think you could go much smaller. And then Arit says, I agree with you. There would be a temple in Pamplona, my hometown, Spain, if we ought to believe a local patriarchal blessing. Awesome. That is really cool. I guarantee it's going to happen. Pamela Bond, hello from Payson, Utah. So we have a couple people from Payson in here. And Payson has a temple, which is awesome. That's where my great aunt was from. She passed away a long time ago, but I've been to Payson a few times. Stephen Cook, Ray Morgan, I have Earth in the Beginning too. Ray Morgan says it's one of the best books ever. I'll have to check that out. There's so many people like recommending books and stuff to me that I'm gonna have to like start earning more money so I can buy all these books. Stephen Cook, yes. Have you read Joseph Smith as Scientist? Okay, I think we have enough. Let's check and see how many people are in here right now. We got 53. So let's just get into it. So I don't know about you. I was a little bit surprised by the poll. So here's the pie chart. And we're going to break it down by numbers in just a minute here. But as you can see, Ephraim is the overwhelming majority of this sampling that we did here on YouTube, with 91.6%. The next biggest group is Manasseh with 19%. We've had we've had 417 responses. There's one person that I guess answered, but like it wasn't for any of the answers that you could pick, and I'll explain that in just a minute. I think I know why that is. But anyway, Manasseh comes in at 4.6%, with 19 people that responded Manasseh. Now, this obviously isn't a perfect sampling of people, because if we go to my channel analytics, I have this pulled up. My audience is mostly from the United States with 80.7%. 80.7%. And then the next biggest is Canada at 2.5, and then the UK at 1.4, Australia 1.4, and then India for some reason, which is cool. It might be because I've done some 10 Lost Tribes videos that focused on India. We have the Cochin Jews that are recognized to have been descendants of the 10 Lost Tribes, essentially. Go back. I have a whole playlist called 10 Lost Tribes. Go watch that. I go through like these different communities that are recognized to have had some kind of tradition or history of being descended from Israel. And I'm not talking about the Southern Kingdom either. I'm talking about the Northern Kingdom. So that might be why I have so many in India. And then we got Indonesia, Philippines, Brazil, New Zealand, Germany, South Africa, Vietnam, Mexico. So it's hard to tell how many of these people are actually like watching the videos because they're members of the church. It's also hard to tell. I guess I could have put it in the poll, but been like, where are you from? But anyway, this seems to mostly represent the United States for the most part. It makes me wonder if we were to like go to just Russian saints, for example. And I say that because of Sister Nelson's talk. Would this look a lot different if you were polling exclusively Eastern European people? What would it look like if it was a poll just for Asian saints? What would it look like if it was just for African, South American? So I don't think that we can look at this and like apply it to the entire church, but at least it's something to look at and think about. So if we go from the summary here, the pie chart, to the question, it breaks it down by numbers. So we have 382 that are Ephraim, 19 that are Manasseh, 7 that are just Joseph, And that's something that I just learned just doing this YouTube channel. I guess there's some people that in their patriarchal blessing, it doesn't specify Ephraim or Manasseh. It just says Joseph. And there's also a couple people that have said that they are simply in their patriarchal blessing from Israel, and that's it, not a tribe. While there's one or two other people that said that it just says from Abraham. So I had never heard of that before. I thought the whole point, one of the points of patriarchal blessing was to be have your lineage declared by tribe. But so I'm not going to like really speculate on that. I don't know, but I'm just saying what people have said. So we have 7 that are simply Joseph, 4 from Benjamin, 1 from Reuben, 1 from Simeon, 1 from Dan, 1 from Gad, 1 from Issachar, and the last one, there's a response, but the question left blank. So this may have been the Abraham person or Israel person, or I don't know. I'm assuming that's what the case is. So let me come back here to the chat, see what everybody's saying. Okay. Susan Cooper lived in Holiday, Utah. Oh. Arit says some stake centers have been turned into some stake centers have been turned into temples, or they are planned to be temples eventually. I'm not aware of any stake centers that have been turned into temples, but, well, if you know which one it specifically reads, put it in the chat. Like, there's the Vernal Temple, which looks like it was some kind of building before it was turned into a temple, so I don't know if that's what you're talking about. Ray Morgan says, if you pull just my stake, Tongan North, Salt Lake City, the house of Manasseh would be around 95%. And then that makes sense, right? Because we know that I've done a video on this before, how the Polynesians, Samoa, Tonga, probably Fiji, as well as New Zealand, the Maori people, they seem to have descended through Hagoth, which was a Nephite, the Nephite that took off, on a boat. He took people with him, and he sailed north. It seems that there's been some inspired declarations about that the Polynesians are descended through him. So that, of course, it would be Manasseh for Tonga, Samoa, so forth. Arit says, some of the said stake centers are huge, too big for a purpose other than temples. Yeah, I'd like to see some specifics on that, because that's interesting. And then he says, let boast and be a narcissist for a second. Okay, let's boast and be a narcissist for a second. My first mission president, Shane Bowen, is a general authority serving in the presidency of the Southern States area. So narcissistic of you, Aritz. My gosh. Phil and Malia waits. My deceased family member's patriarchal blessing says she will help crown the 10 tribes of Israel who comes from the north. Aritz says, I meant boast. Okay. Stephen Cook, does anyone say something other than through your lineage you are entitled to the blessings of? Lon Allen says Vernal Tabernacle and Provo Tabernacle. Yeah, because that makes sense, because the tabernacles of the church, I think that they there's not like a whole lot of them. Let me pull up that article. LDS Tabernacles. There's a good Wikipedia article here that has a list of the different tabernacles. So we have here, let's just look at them. Canesville. So, this is a replica of the tabernacle in Canesville. The Old Salt Lake Tabernacle. So these are basically just like the tabernacle on Temple Square, meant for, I think, for conferences and stuff like that, but they're not really made anymore. This one is really interesting looking. Ogden, which I know that there's a different Ogden Tabernacle right next to the temple. they took the spire down because it kind of like overshadowed the neighboring temple. Like it competed with it. And of course, here's what we were just talking about, the Provo Tabernacle. It was a tabernacle, but now it's actually I think it's called the Provo City Center Temple, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that these tabernacles have been used as like stake centers. So that makes sense. Wow, this one is really interesting looking. Not too big of a fan of like the three spires here, but whatever. It just looks a little bit odd. But Bountiful, Utah Tabernacle. Let's look at just a couple more. And then we got the Salt Lake Tabernacle, St. George Tabernacle, Parowan, Utah. Here, let's look at that. I like the idea of tabernacles. I like the idea of it. Anyway, let's go back to here. Honey, can you stop your shaking the computer? That's fine. Let's see. Stephen Cook, does anyone... Okay. Susan Cooper, sorry, Jared. I was in a chat with a member here. Gosh, this is supposed to be all about me, Susan, not you. You just talk to me and only speak when spoken to. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay. So, yeah, it's interesting when we look at these numbers. I expected in this poll that Manasseh would be a lot more. I was thinking something more along the lines of like Ephraim being something like maybe 70%, maybe even 60%. Manasseh being more like 30%. And then having just a few of the others. And that's basically what happened with the others. But I just thought that there would be more Manasseh responding. I wanted to read a few things here about lineage, because there's some interesting statements about that. Some of this may be new to some. Maybe some of you have already heard this. But this right here, okay, this is Your Patriarchal Blessing by President James E. Faust, second counselor in the first presidency, from an address given at BYU on March 30th, 1980. Okay, look at this. Okay, so first, adoption into the house of Israel. There are many coming into the church who are not of the blood lineage of a specific tribe of Jacob. No one need assume that he or she will be denied any blessing by reason of not being of the blood lineage of Israel. Now, before we go further, we know that there seems to be a connection, right? There's a connection between what happened in the pre-existence, that there was a pre-existence Israel, and that's in some way affected your lineage here in this life, right? But everyone has the chance to be part of Israel. Everyone can change, everyone can accept the gospel, everyone can make covenants, so no one is excluded, except for those that in the pre-existence chose to follow Satan. For them, that portion is over. They did not keep their first estate. Paul makes repeated references to adoption into the house of Israel through faith. Quote, "But ye are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, if so be that the Spirit of God dwell in you. Now, if any man have not the Spirit of Christ, he is none of his." Romans 8:9. And again, quote, "Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises." Romans 9:4. King Benjamin refers to the faithful as the children of Christ, his sons and his daughters, thus being able to spiritually begotten through faith, and thus coming into the family of Christ through this spiritual birth. It really makes no difference if the blessing of the house of Israel come through the lineage or through the spirit of adoption. Elder John A. Widsoe stated, "Whether this lineage is of blood or of adoption does not matter." In Abraham, we are told, "I will bless them through thy name, for as many as receive this gospel shall be called after thy name, and shall be accounted thy seed, and shall raise up and bless thee as their father." Okay. lineage. Since families are of mixed lineage, it occasionally happens that members of the same family have blessings declaring them to be of different lineage. And I have an example of that here on the channel. There's one person that says, the person that says that they're from Simeon, they said that one of their parents is from Levi. So it happens. Okay. There's been an intermixture of the tribes, one with another. One child may be of Ephraim, another in the same family of Manasseh, Judah, or one of the other tribes. The blood of one tribe, therefore, may be dominant in one child, and the blood of another tribe dominant in another child, so children from the same parents could belong to different tribes. It's interesting. I'd like to see, the science behind that, because there is, I'm sure, a science behind it. We're not going to be able to, know it in this life. Sometimes you think about, what scientists call junk DNA. If you've, looked into that, there seems to be a portion of DNA that doesn't really do anything. But you have to wonder if, how far along our science is when it comes to genetics and what may be contained in that quote-unquote junk DNA. Does it have to do with the premortal life? Does it have to do with this kind of lineage, right? So anyway, Alva Mon says, my dad was 50% Native American, and he was from Ephraim. All right, cool. Okay, the house of Israel, in the original sense, meant the literal blood descendants of the house of Jacob. The Lord said to Abraham, I give unto thee a promise that this right, meaning the right to receive the gospel and the priesthood, shall continue in thee and in thy seed after thee. Abraham 2, verse 11. By seed we mean the heirs of the body. In our time the Lord has said, Thus saith the Lord unto you, with whom the priesthood hath continued through the lineage of your fathers. For ye are lawful heirs according to the flesh. Therefore your life and priesthood have remained and must needs remain through you and your lineage. D&C 86, verses 8 through 10. Believing Gentiles, even though not of the bloodlines or a genealogical history of Israel, become adopted into the house of Israel. Joseph Smith taught that when, quote, the Holy Ghost falls upon one of the literal seed of Abraham, it is calm and serene, while the effect of the Holy Ghost upon a Gentile is to purge out the old blood and make them actually of the seed of Abraham. That man that has none of the blood of Abraham, naturally, must have a new creation by the Holy Ghost. Put yes if you've heard that before. This doesn't actually, it doesn't just come through Joseph Smith. This is said a couple different times, but have you heard this before, that when you're baptized, if you're a Gentile, whatever Gentile portion there is in you actually literally changes? Have you heard that before? Put yes if you have, or no if you haven't. I'd just be interested to know how many people knew about this before now. Is everyone still here? Let me check out the live stream. We got 53. Let's go back here. Pamela Bond says, by the way, 7 members of my family are from Ephraim, my daughter from Benjamin. Ray Morgan says yes, he has heard of it. Anybody else? And there's no shame if you haven't. I'm hoping, but I would like it if you're finding this out for the first time, because I feel like it's something that everyone should know. Tarl Telford says yes, but only recently learned it. Jen Ottens says yes. It's just, I think that the intricacies of this life, I think it's more intricate than we know right now. I'm sure that after this life we'll learn so much about what was actually going on here in this life, and all the science behind it. Sherry Ware says no. Edward Divini says, I think that's talking about the baptism of fire in the Holy Ghost. Well, yeah, sorry. When I said baptism, I meant, the Holy Ghost as well. Alva Mon, no. Ray Morgan, only 4 times. Oh, okay. Stephen Cook, no, but my bishop told me that I had the best blood of Israel running through my veins. So similar. Karate says yes. Okay, let's continue on. I'm going to read actually another thing where it talks about that, but this is interesting. Believing Gentiles, even though not of the bloodlines or genealogical ancestry of Israel, become adopted into the house of Israel. I received my own patriarchal blessing when I was but a boy of 12. From that short blessing, I learned something about my responsibilities and my labors in establishing the kingdom. I pray that we live worthily and seek the blessings that are promised us by the Lord through our family patriarchs and through our ordained patriarchs, and that we will strive to help conditions and circumstances so that these great promises can be realized. Now, if you want to watch my other video, I kind of went more into depth in this, called Surprising Statements About Being Literally Descended from Israel. I'm going to read just a little bit more about that, though. Okay, so this is on Fair Latter-day Saints. It's from the Journal of Discourses. Preaching and Testimony, Gathering Israel, the Blood of Israel in the Gentiles, the Science of Life. And this is a discourse by President Brigham Young, delivered in the Tabernacle, Great Salt Lake City, April 8th, 1855. So I don't know if this was like general conference. I assume that maybe it was. If it was in the Tabernacle and it was April 8th, then it seems like that was probably general conference. He says right here, it is nearly time to draw our meeting to a close. I think we had better adjourn our conference to the 6th of next October. So see, it sounds like this was a general conference talk. As the business now necessary to be done is accomplished. And I find that we are very much crowded in this tabernacle, and on this account, the congregation is rather uncomfortable. Put in the chat, put a T, the letter T, if you've been to the Tabernacle on Temple Square. Have you been to the Tabernacle? I'm just asking because if you've been there, my wife is waving her hand. She has been there. We've been there, and if you're familiar with the Tabernacle, it is smaller than it looks on TV. It's smaller than it looks on TV. The benches are actually not very spaced. There's not a whole lot of space. Two Shoe says, no, I have not. Stephen Cook, yes. Tyson Price, Dan Adams, Keeley Photography, Tarl Telford, Jen Oddens, Cecilia Hitch, Sherry Ware, Bonnie Worthen. They have all been to the Tabernacle. Craig Brown, sorry, I just got on here. Are you asking if families have different lineages from the same family? If so, yeah, my family is all from Ephraim, but one of my brothers is Manasseh. Yeah, we were reading an article about that. It was by President Faust. He was talking about that. Bonnie Worthen, yes. Eva Farley, yes. Alton Fan Twin, yes. Nancy Paris, no. I hadn't heard of it. Yes, Tabernacle. Cool. So then you know what he's talking about here. Yeah, it's kind of uncomfortable. At least I found it uncomfortable. Okay, let's go down here. Okay, recollect that we are now calling upon the elders to go and gather up Israel. This is the mission that is given to us. It was the first mission given to the elders in the days of Joseph. To set the set time has come for God to gather Israel and for his work to commence upon the face of the whole earth. And the elders who have arisen in this church and kingdom are actually of Israel. Okay, so he's making a statement there that this original group, they're actually of Israel. And, I think that's true. I definitely think that's true because Now, I don't want to get too much into the debate about what's it called? About the main body of the 10 Lost Tribes, and because there is a debate about that. There's a group that thinks that there's like a literal group of the 10 Lost Tribes that are, somewhere that we don't know about, maybe in the North Pole or somewhere like that. I don't tend to take that view myself. So I'm going to see if I can get over to Google Earth. Bear with me. I just pulled up Google Earth. Where is it? Okay, there it is. Okay, there we go. So we've read on the